and YouTubers. Thank you for joining me to a very, very special edition of Friday Night Rants and Lifestyle. So if you're awake, Saturday night, late night with Miami Mike. I would like to thank everyone that's been contributing to the comments section and the live comments and stuff. It's really good. I'm starting pretty late tonight because I had to put my son to sleep and he was like full blast. Broadcasting, let me do a plug here, out of Merritt, BC. It is I, the one and only Mike Martins, your humble servant. And I actually want to talk about something that's somewhat concerning. And it's been concerning a lot of people living in the southern hemisphere. It's because, and I've been noticing this when I'm reading housing stuff, that the weather's coming early everywhere. I mean, the cold weather is coming early everywhere. So we were talked to about, or we were told about global warming for almost like a decade and a half now. And global warming has been, I don't know how to explain it. We've been plagued with, controversial stories coming up about global warming and what's happening, and telling us in 10 years Florida will be underwater, telling us that in 15 years the whole North Pole will be melted. And this was back in, I still remember, like in 97, 90, 1998, 1999. I still remember, like, was I even in school? Yeah, you know what? I graduated in 97 or 98, and I still remember. Oh yes, the world's getting warm. Oh yes, this is not good. Oh yes, global warming is going to be, Florida will be underwater by 2010. I still remember that. I still remember being in, yeah, I was in high school. I think it was in grade 10 actually. Sorry. Talking makes my mouth dry. Anyways, I still remember being in high school reading that article. Was the paper was just sitting there by the phone booth, because they had a phone booth in our high school, right? So I walked over and I saw the paper and I saw the front, and it said Florida underwater by 2010, and there was like stuff saying, oh, climatologists and scientists are teaming together to stop this catastrophe or whatnot. I mean, I still remember this. It was in a Toronto newspaper, and I still remember how everybody would talk about how everything's defrosting and the polar ice caps are melting and polar bears are going to be extinct because there's going to be no snow for them, and all this stuff, all this stuff happening. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, so this is what a lot of well, I don't think it's a scare tactic. It's just tactic. I see it more as, if you look at this picture I have below here, I don't know. Just looks like a really bad winter storm to me, and it's common, the further north you go. But further north and further south, it's not looking like it's making much of a difference anymore, and no one's really talking about what's happening with this sudden change in extremely cold, crisp weather. And the southern hemisphere, and a lot of people don't, this is very important. And that's why today's Rants and Lifestyle, I want to dedicate it to, weather, global warming, climate change, or whatever's happening. So, I got some pretty good articles here. Actually, very good articles. I want to start with you guys. And this one is from February 4th, 2017, but it's a really, really good article. A mini ice age is coming soon, says math professor's solar cycle model. That's 97% accurate. And it had a lot of buzz on Facebook here. So the article did get circulated. This has nothing to do with human impacts. Thank you. Because everything is blamed on human impact. And then now you blame Donald Trump for not wanting to join the Paris peace, whatever thingy. And no one's looking at countries like China and other countries that are not part of this whole accord thing, okay? This has nothing to do with human impact on climate change, but instead the activity of the sun and how solar cycles impact our climate as well. It's based on mathematical model that shows the sun might quiet down in coming years, thus impacting our climate as well. This is not a climate change denial article. Please read it before commenting. So this is definitely a really good... sorry about this, guys. I'm just trying to set this up here. I had my comments thing turned off. So thanks for joining me tonight on a beautiful Saturday night. I'm not sure what you guys are up to, but it's been nice weather here where I live in Merritt, and it's been an oven here. Actually, it's been very hot, a nice hot actually. So a few months ago, NASA published a study showing that Antarctica is actually gaining more ice than it is losing. So this was on the news a few days ago, and I started researching it and kind of looking into it and digging, and I found this article. So it says, they made the announcement after using satellites to examine the heights of the region's ice sheet. And findings contradict the prevailing theory that Antarctica has actually been shrinking. However, the paper is titled Mass Gains of Antarctica Ice Sheet Exceeded Losses, and was published in the Journal of Glaciology. Wow, I didn't even know glaciology was never mind, I'm not even going to go there. The authors of this study are from NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, and the cause of this ice gain isn't entirely known. Okay, but the number of theories are mentioned in the paper. It is worth mentioning, however, that NASA was blasted by dozens of their own scientists regarding their global warming stance. Again, it's an absolute tug of war. And even though a number of world's top scientists have questioned just how much the impact greenhouse gases have climate change, you can read more about that here, source. Perhaps there are other factors contributing to climate change. Okay, guys. From what I know and what I've seen, and taking a step back and looking at the big picture, climate's always going to change. There's a boatload of many ice ages that we went through in the last couple of thousand years. I think it's something that we can't control. Like, a lot of people believe, send Al Gore a bunch of money and he'll stop the hurricanes or stop the cold weather. No, you can't fix this with money. I don't think it's a money problem. I think it's more of something that we need to spend money preparing for more, as opposed to spend money on things that don't go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Throwing money at problems usually doesn't always fix the problem. Perhaps there are other factors. Okay, so let's go. Just a few years ago, Antarctic ice extent has reached all-time high. Okay, they got a source right there. There are many theories as to why this is so, and one of them includes the effects of supposed global warming, but not everyone agrees. That's a completely separate topic. However, and you can learn more about it in the articles linked to at the end of this article. So, when it comes to climate change, a lot of emphasis is put on human activity. Right, so they keep blaming us for what's happening in the world. Like, we're constantly the plague on the earth that's basically disforming or destroying our planet. I don't know about that. I don't know if it's, Anyways, let me continue here. Someone's commenting here. Okay. Anyways, I'm just trying to fix this here. Okay. Back to this. So the whole thing, for many years for me, like, it was the whole global warming thing. Oh, the world's getting warm. Oh my God, what are we going to do? And I don't understand what's happening, and I don't know why things are happening the way they are. And instead of coming out and saying, this is one thing that's really teeing me off. Instead of coming out and saying, hey, you know what, guys, we kind of screwed up on the whole global warming thing. Let's call it climate change. They just called it climate change. Just disagreed on what's happening. No one's agreed on anything. Let's keep reading this. There's a part here, right here. So this has to do with the lack of solar flares or lack of solar cycle that's happening and lack of everything. So I believe that the mini ice age that we had in the 1400s that basically engulfed Greenland and Iceland with ice, I believe, okay, I don't know anything. I believe it's just we went through a 5 or 6 degree drop in temperature, and that caused the northern hemisphere to kind of freeze over as far down as probably New York State. Like really cold, you know what I'm saying? The most recent research examined this topic comes from a national astronomy meeting in Wales, where the Valentina Zakharov, a mathematics professor from Northumbria University, UK, presented a model that can predict what solar cycles will look like far more accurately than was previously possible. She states that the model can predict their influence with an accuracy of 97% and says it's showing the Earth is heading for a mini ice age in approximately 15 years. So, yeah, this is not good, guys. I mean, 15 years. Sorry, I am offline. I don't know why. Sorry, my internet's acting really strange. And I don't know why I am offline. This is super strange. Okay, I went offline for a bit. I went back offline. It's the climate change is doing this, folks. It's damaging my studio here. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, okay, let's continue here, people. So, it's the lack of solar flares. A new model of the sun's solar cycle is producing unprecedentedly accurate predictions of irregularities within the sun's 11-year heartbeat. Okay, it's very important that you understand this. The model draws on dynamo effect in 2 layers of the sun, one close to the surface and one deep within the convection zone. Predictions from the model suggest that solar activity will fall by 60% during the 2030s to conditions last seen during the mini ice age that began in 1645. That was a mouthful. I believe in this. I believe in this. I stand by this like stink on a pig, French on toast. I stand by this right here. So 2030s, eh? Shavaraka and her team came up with the model using a method called principal component analysis of magnetic field observations from the Wilcox Solar Observatory in California. Looking forward to the next few solar cycles, her model predicts that from 2030 to 2040, there will be a cause for significant reduction in solar activity, which again will lead to a mini ice age, according to Zakharov. So, I have the article here open. Let me see if I could find it here. Of a mini ice age. Kind of what it kind of looks like, or I had it here somewhere. Oh, where it is. Yeah, it's somewhere. So look up mini ice age. There's a quadrillion documentaries on YouTube that are really well put together. Really well organized. And my chat's acting weird. I keep getting people, it keeps saying somebody was banned from chat, then people are re-banned from chat. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if YouTube's going through some glitches right now. I don't know if they're fixing it. I don't know what's going on. But I'm going to continue with some of this. You can watch this later in an earlier time, because right now it's pretty late. It's like late night talk, with my Mike Martins, Miami Mike. So many nicknames growing up. So, I'm bringing this up on Rants and Lifestyle for Friday night. I have to bring this up because it's been a tug of war. Either the world's getting warmer or it's getting colder. We were told, like I said, for decades. Florida underwater, 2010. In the years 97, 98, 1998. Florida underwater, I bought into it. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I probably was super gullible, or it was really naive, or whatever. I bought into the whole global warming thing. I thought it was real. I thought that we were going to melt. I thought the world was going to... I also bought into the whole 2012 thing. You remember the whole 2012 thing? 2012, the Earth's going to tilt off its axis and blah, blah, blah. And the Mayan calendar ends on that day. I believed in that too. I really believed in that whole 2012 thing. I banked on the whole 2012 thing. I filled my whole house with cans, and I was in a little one-bedroom apartment. And I was single at the time. So I picked up a lot of survival food, dry foods, and stocked up on that kind of stuff. And 2012 is coming, and then that was now everyone's talking about housing pricing. But before, it was all about the whole 2012 thing. The whole 2012 thing was a huge thing. 2010, I remember in 2010, people were like, hey, we got 2 years to go, and Charles McKenna said this, the Mayans said this, everything's pointing to Mother Shipton, everything's pointing to 2012, and this global warming and these tropical storms, this whole fiasco is happening. I bought into 2012, I really did. And I was preaching it when I used to work in finance a long time ago. I used to preach it at work. I used to tell everybody 2012's coming. And 2012 is coming on. Just like another day. And then when I bought into the whole global warming thing too, I saw the viability. I believed, hey, this is very viable. This could happen. But you know what? I was wrong. Because a lot of politicians started coming in, and then they started collecting money, tax credits and other means to raise money to, like, I don't know how you could stop global warming with money. You know what I'm saying? We should have went solar decades ago. Portugal went 5 days. They set the record for going 5 days for the entire country independently running on solar, wind, and some wave power from the ocean. They went 100% solar and off-grid for 5 days, beating Germany's 4 hours or 5 hours. This should have happened 20 years ago, not in 2016, 2017. This should happen 20 years ago. And today, we should be running fully clean, but this goes back to the whole bureaucracy and the whole red tape and the corporations and companies and blah, 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 and losing money and petrodollar. We could talk about that for hours. So let's go back to this cooling, because the cooling, to me, is somewhat... this is the article here if you guys want to read it. Let's go to... So, now, I'm going to bring up the winter we had in Vancouver. Now, Vancouver, a lot of people in Canada, when they mention... I'm from Vancouver, they're like, oh yeah, I know, it doesn't snow there. That's the number one thing that people say even when you meet people on a cruise ship. You meet people in different parts, driving across Canada, meeting couples, this, that, sitting in a hot tub in some ski resort, God knows where. And I tell them, I'm from Vancouver. They're like, oh yeah, it never snows there. Well, I lived there for almost 10 years, okay? And of the 10 years I lived there, last year, 2016, you see this right here? Weather, December 5th, 2016, sorry. More snow possible for Vancouver and Lower Mainland Thursday following cold spell. So, this is it. This is what really happened. This actually happened. And I couldn't believe the amount of snow that fell in Vancouver. And it stayed. I remember 4 or 5 years ago it snowed in Vancouver and it disappeared. I went outside and I missed it. This winter was horrible for the entire Lower Mainland and the interior. We've never seen anything like this. All the years I was living in Vancouver, I've never seen it. I've never seen this. I have never seen this weather. It's just phenomenal. The amount of damage. They had 19,000 hit and runs in a matter of 2 week span, 2 or 3 week span. ICBC had reported 19,000 hit and runs. Mostly parked cars were hit because people hit black ice. And it's crazy. I can't believe, and this was we were not prepared for something like this. I still remember this. We were not prepared as a city. And it was just out of control. And the snow piled up. And then we had minus 17, 18 at overnight temperatures that completely blanketed ice in the morning. And cars weren't equipped with tires, because I've never bought winter tires living in Vancouver. I never needed them, because like people say, it never snows there, and it never did when I did. But this winter, the whole lower mainland and northwest United States, I know parts of New York got pretty cold, but this was crazy. Then everyone starts backtracking. Hey, what about this whole global warming? What's the deal with global warming? Huh? Are you changing it to climate change now? It's like, it's ISIL, ISIS, Mujahid, whatever. There's a different name, right? So it's hard to keep track with the trend and where things are going. This is ridiculous. So watch this. Watch 8 centimeters snow overnight created commuter chaos to schools closures across Metro Vancouver. Reporter. So 12 centimeters. This is a big deal. I'm showing this because this happened to us in the northern hemisphere. The southern hemisphere right now is going into, here's another one. Vancouver snow priorities won't change as another cold snap set to hit. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe this. I looked out my window. I almost fell over. I'm like, what? And they couldn't salt the roads. I think that they had 2 salt trucks in the entire city. I think there was no snow plowed. There was no snow plowed for like 4 days. I had this much snow on my street. And why am I emphasizing on this? Is because I've never seen this happen. And then they're saying they haven't had a record like this since, 1863 or ever recorded history. So now, watch this article, people. Hysteria engulfs Australia as winter strikes in a wave of cold temperatures. Did someone say sub-zero? So this is a new article. Now, look what's happening in the southern hemisphere. And nobody's talking about this. This is a big deal. Winters come months earlier in the southern hemisphere. This is beyond anything. And I'm not a scientist. And I know even scientists can't even explain what the hell's going on here. Maybe if you go back to that model, that 2030, that they said was basically gonna happen, a mini ice age. It's a big day for Australians, a new month and a new season, all bundled together in the same day. The new season is winter, the coldest of the 4. It is still unknown what came first, the cold winter or the anti-winter sentiment. What is very obvious, however, on this sunny, albeit cold 1st of June, is that most people around the country are a little unsettled by the consistently dropping temperatures. From previous years, we can gather that colder weather is synonymous with winter, but the fresher mornings and cooler nights always come as a shock for sun-loving, beach-going Australians. With sub-zero temperatures reported in parts of Queensland and Adelaide experiencing a nippy 2.9 degrees overnight, it has become apparent that winter is truly here. In a response, people around the country have posted concerns about the cold in social media. So, here are some of the concerns here in social media. So, the Northern Hemisphere had a brutal winter. You should have seen the beaches in Italy with 7 feet of snow on the coast. You can't see the sand. You should have seen the rooftops in I think it was Rome. I can't remember where it was in Italy, but it was like a southern town, and roofs were caving in because of the weight of the snow. It was just a brutal winter in Europe for 2016 slash 2017, like 2016, 2017 that we're in now. Now the southern hemisphere, I think it's going to be worse if the South Pole is getting colder. I ain't no scientist and I don't know nothing, but I'm thinking this is what's going to happen. Look at this. Okay, my room's actually 9 degrees and I'm dying my dudes. It's the first day of winter. So a lot of people putting up these jokes and stuff. Bureau of Meteorology forecaster Michael Kemp told the Brisbane Times that experiencing cold temperatures is expected at this time of year. It came months earlier, like way earlier and more colder. It's the coldest since last winter, so it's a sign of things to come because it's the 1st of June today. So let's continue. Watch this. Record-breaking heat in west, usually cold in the east. It's been topsy-turvy start to winter. We're 1 week into winter. Depending on where you are, it may feel like the country is completely different seasons. So I think there's going to be something freaky happening in the southern hemisphere. And I have a feeling that it's going to affect us in the 2017-2018 winter in the north. Because, like, backtracking to what I said about never snowed in Vancouver, if it does, it disappears, and it's usually decent weather in the winter, and it's rainy. This is beyond. The winter we had was beyond, and I think it might start to change things in a way where things move in patterns, you know what I'm saying? So different seasons. On the one side of Australia, there's been breaking warm weather. On the other, breaking cold. Meteorologists say a stubborn high-pressure system bringing clear skies much of the country and honorable coast is to blame for the extremes. Early Thursday, Melbourne and Brisbane shivered through their coldest nights of the year so far, dropping 3.8 Celsius into Victoria capital 7.8 in the Sunshine State. Look at this. Look at the cold creeping in. Wow, she's cute. Let's keep going here. But the topsy-turvy start to winter is most obvious when comparing to Canberra to Perth. Sky newsletter weather meteorologist Tom Sanders told news.com.au. The first six mornings of winter of Canberra were the coldest ever, but Perth is averaging 23.7 daytime maximum for the first week. You have to go back to the late 1880s to get warmer than that. Perth should have been averaging much cooler, 19.4. So I don't understand why this is happening, and I don't understand why it's not really getting out there, why people aren't talking about this. This is actually a very big deal. The southern hemisphere is gonna start receiving cold beyond you could ever imagine. The high pressure system is hanging around the Great Australian Bight, and it's going to remain near stationary for at least the rest of the week, and more likely into the middle of next week, he said. So El Nino. So right here, this is this part. Most climate models indicate positive IOD may develop during winter. A positive IOD would increase chances of dire conditions for central and southern eastern Australia, Senior Climatologist Bureau said. In the Pacific, seas have been warmer but remain below El Nino levels. However, many climate models still predict El Nino event during the second half of 2017. If El Nino doesn't form, drier than average conditions could still persist in Australia over the winter, he said. Current outlooks suggest that there's a 50% chance that El Nino will double normal chance. Coldest start to winter in 128 years. So, oh my God, I got an advertisement, guys. Oh no. I got an advertisement. Okay. So, this is a big deal. And I know I've said big deal like 40 times. Look at that, -3. So if you're watching this from Australia, leave your comments below when you watch the rerun of the show when it's posted tomorrow. I would like to know what's going on down there, because if the South Pole does get colder, like in the first article, and it gets bigger, I have a feeling that things are not going to be good. I don't want to enter a mini ice age. I really enjoy summer. I want to plant a garden. I want to be out and about. I want to be having fun. I want to go to the ocean. I don't want to be worried about long, cold winters, because we had a long, cold, brutal winter. And that's why I'm voicing this and commenting on this. Let's keep going. New Zealand. Oh no, same thing. Southern Hemisphere. New Zealand, coldest morning of the year. New Zealand's polar blast and wild weekend weather explained. Yeah, like this guy's going to explain it to us, right? The country is shivering under a blanket of frost as we wake to the coldest morning of the year after a wild weekend of snow, sleet, and gales of spectacular clear and still night has led to bone-chilling sub-zero temperatures across New Zealand. So, like I said, Southern Hemisphere is experiencing an not only early, but a bizarre cold winter. So if you're watching this, and if you're from Chicago and Ohio, Ontario, parts of Europe, comment below. Let me know how your winter was this year, because I've had a winter I've never seen before. Look at this. It's freezing. Let's move on. South Africa. Southern Hemisphere. Powerful winter storm kills at least 9 in Cape Town, South Africa. So, the strongest winter storm in recent years in Cape Town, South Africa has claimed lives of at least 9 people. 4 of the victims were killed in a fire started by lightning, according to the BBC. Destructive winds, flooding, downpours, frequent lightning have battered the region Tuesday night and Wednesday. And not only that, this is from the other day. Not only that, they've been getting tons of snow and cold weather. I had someone on my Trends in the Housing Market show, which I'll be doing. I should be doing it tomorrow night. We should be talking about housing tomorrow night. I'm going to try and come on really early. I'm going to do the Rants and Lifestyle Friday night, but I'm going to do it really late. I'm going to do it late. If you're awake and you can't sleep, you could tune in and listen. And because I can't sleep. Anyways, look at this. Look at this cold weather. South Africa. And so I had someone on the housing market discussion was talking about, hey, Mike, I'm in Cape Town. I'm in South Africa. And I like your housing show. I would like if you could discuss the extremely cold weather we're having here in South Africa, abnormal weather. So then I looked into it. I kind of try to get an understanding of what's happening. And he's right. He said he's been freezing in his house for the last 8 to 10 days. Heating is not as reliable because the temperature shouldn't get this cold normally. So this is becoming a problem. South Africa too. Look at this. So let's go to some NASA articles. I mean, who do you even believe nowadays? Seriously. Okay, here we go. Kind of cold here in Orange County. Should be hot right now, but not. It's true. I went to Vancouver today. Today is 10th of June, 9, 10, wherever you're watching this. I went downtown to Vancouver. It was freezing. It was like 14, 15, 17 degrees. It was so cold. I had to roll my window up because it was so cold. and we're June 10. So Buddy's commenting here. Thanks for commenting. Who am I? Kind of cold here in OC, but should be hot right now. It should be in California in June. Global warming. NASA says Antarctica has been cooling for the past 6 years. Antarctic temperatures have cooled over the past 6 years, according to the U.S. Space Agency, NASA. This is the Hemdale Glacier in southern Greenland from NASA's Falcon 20 aircraft at 33,000 feet above the sea level. An intensive scientific study of both Earth's poles has found that from 2009 to 2016, overall temperature has dropped in the southern polar region. So, I don't know anything, but I want to tell you what I think is happening. The southern pole and the North Pole is what keeps the Earth on its axis, right? Like this. So it's got this effect when 365 days go by. It goes like this, right? So I'm thinking if the south part gets heavier and more, it's gonna move the axis further away in the winter time in the north, November, December, January, further away from the sun and causing colder winters. I don't know. I'm just telling you, this might happen, and this was probably what triggered the mini ice age many years ago. An intensive scientific study of both Earth's poles. Okay, we got that already. NASA's Operation Iceberg is an airborne survey of polar ice and has finalized 2 overlapping research campaigns at both poles. In the last few weeks, NASA has revealed that the overall amount of ice has increased at the Antarctica, and the amount of sea ice has also extended. Coupled with the latest announcement of slight cooling in the area, it has fueled claims from climate change deniers that human industrialization is not having a huge impact on global temperature as often is claimed. Very true. I think this one is Putin's fault. No, is it Trump's fault? I'm not too sure. So there it is. You can see the new add-ons here. Sections here being added on. And I'm concerned about the weight that gets added on. How would it affect the axis? You know what I'm saying? That's why I do these shows. I find some research, discuss what's happening in lifestyle and rants, because this is definitely a lifestyle or a change that we have to adjust to if things don't. Because guys in the southern hemisphere, bundle up. That's all I have to. If you get the winter we had up here and we don't get snow, bundle up if you get snow, because I think it's going to be a lot worse. Christopher Schumann of the University of Maryland, Baltimore, country galactic working at Goddard said, field data suggests that there's been a modest cooling in an area over the 2009-2015 time period, and images collected during that time by the moderate resolution imaging spectrophotometer, whatever, on the Terra and Aqua satellites. Why don't they just say land and water? Terra y Agua satellites show more persistent fast ice, sea ice that is attaching to the shore in the Larsen A and Larsen B embayments. However, Mr. Schumann warned that in some areas of the Antarctic glaciers continue to melt at significant levels despite the slight temperature drop. At the South Pole, the mission observed a big drop in the height of the 2 glaciers situated at the Antarctic Peninsula. Mr. Sherman added, these iceberg measurements show that once the ice shelves collapse, even some cooling and a good deal of persistent sea ice is not able to hold back these large glaciers as they continue to lose mass overall. So, I want to know what you guys think. Wow, some of this advertising is so pornographic, man. I gotta do a show about pornographic advertising one time on my Life's and Rants. Many scientists believe that climate is gradually heating up and we will be looking at droughts. I want to know what you guys think about that, because they keep, I don't know how to say it. There's some comments here. Let's see what some of these people say. Please quote the NASA's press release correctly. NASA study examination of the Earth's recent history key to predicting global temperatures is not the same as you're heading to climate change shock. Burning fossil fuels cools planets, says NASA. That changes the meaning of what NASA said totally. Is the Express trying to deceive the people? That's what the article sounds like. There's an old saying, dumber than the Pope, and this holds true in the case of a man-made climate change, i.e., look at the temperature changes that occurred on the Earth long before man was here. Who or what caused these prior changes? I think all of you, including the Pope, everyone knows the answer to that question. End of this story. Prove to me and the world of science otherwise. Let me see. That's why they call it man-made climate change now. In the 60s and 70s, it was global cooling caused by nuke test. I remember reading an article on that. Then, when it warmed up and pollution became the left's next boogeyman, it became man-made global warming. When the temperature hasn't changed at all in the last 20 years, they changed it to climate change. So somebody commented today, so what do we do now? Maybe we need another nuke test. So scientists say it takes 900 years for the ocean to rise 1 degree in temperature. Right. That being the case, the information of new ice as the temperature is dropping is totally consistent with the lagging indicator of residual rise ocean temperature from previous warming. Who can't figure that out? So someone commented here, global warming is one of those pointless debates. It's basically a big maybe, probably, sure, expect this year. Yeah, exactly. JW just commented there. Thanks for joining in. It's you know, but I bought into it. In 2000 and, what was it, 1996, 1995, 1996, I believed when I was reading those front page articles, Florida underwater in 2010. I believed it. I thought, wow, this could be happening, you know? And like earlier I was discussing, I believed in the whole 2012 fiasco. The Mayan calendar, Mother Shipton, Charles McKenna, the world's coming to an end. Even Einstein said, you know. So this is Bloomberg, the business. The world's getting warmer. The world is warming, but the Antarctic is getting colder. So one of the most rapidly warming places on Earth in the past half century actually cooled in the past 20 years, according to research that may be seized on one of those who have doubts about global warming. So, when in doubt, change the name. Then, if it's not global cooling, then they'll call it... I'm just trying to think what it could be after. I'm just trying to think of a hip name that would be. So if it's not global warming, it's not global cooling, but what could it be? I think it's just natural. Lack of solar flares, yes, it does. We get lack of solar flares, lack of the sun cycle starts changing a bit. It does get cooler on Earth naturally, and it happens. And somebody, JW commented, climate change is a constant. Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Climate change is something that I don't know why it's become... It was front and center for many years, and then it kind of drifted a bit. Then now it's back full force, and now it's affecting us. And you're probably watching this saying, why is this guy talking about global warming? Why is this guy talking about global cooling? Why is... It affects us because they add taxes on your gasoline. They add taxes on Carbon credits. They make us pay these taxes, but throwing money at the problem isn't going to solve the problem. This has a lot to do with our lifestyle. And this is me ranting about it because throwing money... Okay. At least comment this below for me. And if you've watched this far, thanks for watching, all of this until now. I really appreciate that. I was kind of off when I first started. I feel good now. I want to know. Comment below. Throwing money at the problem, would it solve the problem? I think preparing and creating cleaner fuels, and if it is even us creating more solar panels, do what Portugal did. 5 days went independent, off-grid. The whole country went off-grid 5 days. Okay? Portugal did it. Beat Germany's 4 hours or 5 hours. So if it even is us, why haven't we converted to all full electric cars? Yes, I know what you guys are going to say. The petrodollar. Corporations. This, that. You telling me in the last 30 years we couldn't vote one person in that could say, hey, you know what? This fossil fuel thing's getting really old. We got to get into the 21st century. You telling me we couldn't vote somebody in that could have made that change? They have climate change as still one of the major platforms. When you're going into government or becoming or wanting to be in government, and the number one platform still today is still global warming or climate change. But how much of it is impacted from us? So, Electronic Wasteland says it's not a fact that it's changing, it's the rate of change that is alarming. Right. So, the southern hemisphere is getting colder. And why I put this article, or why I pulled up these articles, because a lot of people have been telling me the southern hemisphere, because I mentioned a few times homeless people in the southern hemisphere, housing is expensive in New Zealand and Australia, and with people living in tents, I have a feeling when winter comes, it's going to be a problem. Then someone commented and said, hey, Mike, I remember you mentioning this. I'm in South Africa, and it's cold. We've had early winter, unprecedented amount of snow. Then people are sending me messages from Australia saying, hey, Mike, you were right. Our weather's going crazy down here. New Zealand. I had someone from Sri Lanka message me. It was in Sri Lanka. One of those countries in southern, Vietnam or that area. Not Cambodia. Somewhere in that area messaging me, I like your show. Same thing. We're having really bizarre weather change. And I have a feeling that this year's Southern Hemisphere really bizarre weather is going to strongly affect the Northern Hemisphere 2017/2018 winter. I said this earlier. I want to say it again and put it on record because I have this strong feeling that this now isn't normal. I'm not trying to pull fear and create this. The problem is we're not taking the right path. I don't think we could ever solve this problem. But we're not taking the right path to alleviate the fossil fuels, if that's what it is. We're not taking the right path to properly correct our 18th and 17th century barbaric burning fuel ways. We're not in the 21st century yet. And that's the sad part of the whole agenda. One of the most rapidly places on Earth. Okay, let's continue. Temperatures on the Antarctic Peninsula have reversed course, dropping by an average of about 0.5 degrees Celsius per decade since the 1990s, while the rest of the world experienced record heat. 10 researchers from the British Antarctic Survey conclude that in the article published in the Journal of Nature on Wednesday. Okay, this one here. That a very small part of the planet shows a short-term cooling is not in any way a surprise, said Ed Hawkins, the National Center for Atmospheric Science and University of Reading in England. Imagine, okay, I'm just going to I want to crack a joke here. Imagine you meet some chick at a bar. You're hanging out. You're having a few drinks. And the girl asks, "What do you do?" I work for the National Center of Atmospheric Science at the University of Reading in England. That's a title and a half. I'm going to write that down on a cue card. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot of single friends. I'm going to tell them, yeah, when someone asks, what do you do? Just say, I work at the National Center of Atmospheric Science and at the University of Reading in England. Anyways, let me continue here. It's what we expect from natural variation in the atmospheric circulation interacting with long-term warming trend. The findings will feed the debate about the significance of a slowdown in the pace of global warming since 1998. I still remember that article in 1997-98. Florida 2010 underwater. I'm never going to forget that. I wish I kept that newspaper. But I bought it. I bought into it. You know, I bought into this years ago. It's kind of embarrassing. I'm sorry, but you know, I also bought into the whole 2012 thing. I know I brought this up before, but let's continue. Record cold and snow spread globally. So this is from earlier January of 2017. Record cold and snow have descended upon the planet this winter, and even in the summer in some places. The cold is spreading. At the latest satellite data reveals that despite a huge El Nino, the global temperatures are not statistically warmer than 1998. The global warming pause continues. See the global temperature pause, greatly exaggerated, 2016, not statistically warmer than 1998. And despite new claims that global warming temperature pause still going strong, and the pause lives on. Global satellites 2016, not statistically warmer than 1998. So here's some record cold and freezing rain, Portland and Metro. New cold record set in Finland. So let's look at this real quick. So I told you guys that the winter passed. This is from the winter past because this is from January 4th. So this is from the winter past, okay? So extreme weather in Finland, cold record snaps minus 41. That's, for Americans watching this, that's Celsius. It's freezing. See right here. Early Thursday, new cold record for this winter is minus 41.7. Gasoline freezes. Degrees Celsius was set. I wonder where hydrogen peroxide freezes at. I think it's like minus 80. Anyways, Finnish Lapland. It was nearly as chilly in the village of Nuraska in Sala, where thermometers showed minus 41 on Thursday night. Temperatures are expected to fall further in the southern central Finland as well. Look at this. So, like I'm telling you guys, Europe had one of the most brutal winters on record. Vancouver had the most brutal winter on record. Because I witnessed it, right? Let's keep going here. California, 6.5 feet of snow in 72 hours. Look at this. Let's keep going. 10 to 15 feet of snow for California. This is crazy. Several feet of snow already have fallen in the Sierra Nevada, and several more feet on the way. Austria, winter returning. And how? Look at this. So these are from this year. With 40 centimeters, 16 inches of fresh snow and hurricane winds up to 161 kilometers. In the Alps, it snows roughly up to 40 centimeters of fresh snow is expected, says from the Central Institute of Meteorology and Geodynamics. Holy crap. Okay, there's a long title here. With that already lies the strong wind that could cause snow drifts up to 1.5 meters. In the west, too, it finally snows. On the mountains, falls up to 30 centimeters, 12 inches. Okay, so it goes into here. In Vienna, wind gusts more than 100 kilometers an hour have measured in the last hour, and a peak reported at 104 kilometers an hour. This is crazy, people. So, minus 40. Central Russia. Within 3 to 5 days, average daily temperature is expected to be 10 to 15 degrees below normal. This is the key, people. Below normal. Normal's fine. Every year we get some winter, a little bit of dusting, a little bit of this, a few days of cold, 2 days of snow, hopefully around Christmas, and then it milds down. February milds out a bit. March is spring, but no, it was freezing in March. April, freezing. Snow, you know? It's intuitive, but global warming produces more extreme temperatures in both directions, colder and hotter, at different times. We can expect to see some really freaky weather, says Electronic Wasteland. Let's keep going. Snowing in New Zealand in high summer. Really? Imagine, in summer, you're getting ready, you're waking up, it's Saturday, I'm going to the beach, I'm maybe going to, hang out the coast, maybe go for a bike ride, and it's snowing in summer. Here in New Zealand, where it's supposed to be high summer, we've got snow falling to 800 meters, 2,400 feet today in the South Island, says Reader. It's crazy. California, 6.5 feet snow, 10 feet of snow. Austria, brutal cold in Germany. I'm telling you, people, Europe had one of the coldest, brutal winters. In the east, German highlands, temperatures have already plummeted below 10. Abnormal temperatures. Below 15 degrees than normal. Look, 2 other snowfalls reported in one morning, 15 inches of snow. Villages isolated by snow in Iraq. Isn't it supposed to be a desert? Look at this. Villages isolated by snow in Iraq. Temperatures dropped 6 below zero on the 4th of January 2016. A local official of Erbil reported Wednesday the snowfall and low temperatures in the mountains are disabled transportation in some areas. The director of board, this is crazy, getting colder again over parts of Canadian West. Saskatchewan, minus 30. Schools in East Idaho where it's cold because it's too cold. Minus 34 Celsius. Yeah. Larry. I like Larry. Larry comments once in a while. Yeah. The crop losses. It's there was this thing in Eastern Europe, Southern East Europe and up to Spain, part of maybe Southern Portugal. They got somewhat of a breadbasket, kind of where they breads and crops and corns and stuff in the more subtropic temperatures. And that's affecting food production, 39 inches of snowfall in 24 hours in Washington, state reported. India, heavy snowfall. Closest Mongol road for third straight day. The historic Mongol road connecting South Kashmir with Puchi in Pir Panjal area of Jammu remains closed. Continuous snowfall has hampered the road clearance work. Executive engineer Mongol road. So, Turkey flooded minarets now snowed, then surrounded by snow. Very interesting photos of heavily snowfall in Turkish. Let's see this, guys. There's no There's a million links here, so I'm not going to bother with that. Abandoned in the middle of a blizzard. Police found her body. Bulgarian police reported finding a body of a Somalian immigrant. Oh, that's so sad. And then Buddy here comments. Buddy here comments. Almost makes you wish global warming was real. I think the U.S. wheat crop loss this year is around 40%. Let's look this up. Sorry. Let's see what comes up when we... let's go to news. Here we go. There we go. This is posted today. USDA expects drop in Kansas winter wheat yield. So Larry, you're right, buddy. Kansas winter wheat production will drop 35 points. I keep saying points, 1%, from last year, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture report released Friday, making it unlikely farmers will see major profits. Wheat farmers are expected to bring in 304 million bushels in Kansas this year, according to the USDA report. That is down from 467 million bushels produced last year. That's huge. The decrease is due to the number of factors, according to the Dan O'Brien, agriculture economist of Kansas State University. Disease and unseasonable weather. There you go. Ding, ding, ding. Give him a prize. Have hit farmers hard this year, but farmers also planted less wheat, he said. Wheat prices have fallen annually for several seasons, he said. So to avoid taking a loss, many farmers planted less wheat in favor of other crops. Last year, wheat grew 8.2 million acres of Kansas farmland, but this year was under 7 million. Farmers are smart economists, he said. It's like with any business. If there's less profit, you cut back, right? The decline in production will hopefully drive prices up, O'Brien said. The national average is about $4.30 per bushel, up about 10% according to his analysis. That could be enough to keep profit levels slightly higher than last year. So in a good way, it's going to bring up the price of wheat, but then it's going to bring up the price of your cereal. It's going to bring up the price of everything. And it's going to cost you more to transport it because they have the carbon tax on your gas. The carbon tax that they added to your gasoline price. You know what I'm saying? So that's a really good one there. So blowing hot and cold. Global warming will make winters in Britain even colder, scientists warn. It's everywhere, guys. I think we will go on Google later, YouTube later. Just go on YouTube. Look up mini ice age, the Norsemen, from the Norsemen time, from the Viking time. There's a really interesting documentary that show when the people from Norway and all those guys, the Vikings, when they went over to Greenland and parts of Iceland and colonized it and built churches, homes, they colonized. And then I think the mini ice age came in, and then temperatures, they couldn't plant anything, they couldn't grow anything, the crops weren't sustainable. It's a really good documentary. I really recommend you look it up on YouTube and watch it. Blowing hot and cold. Let's see what they say. Global warming may be causing intensely cold winters in Britain and the USA, a study suggests. Warming in the Arctic is thought to be diverting the jet stream, leading to severe cold snaps. Okay, I see. There's a little model here that show you here. Yeah, global warming could make the jet stream more volatile, causing Britain to be plunged into extreme cold snaps, scientists warn. So there's a little model here if you see this here. Oh, good. Let's play it.
Weather patterns are caused by temperature differences in the atmosphere. Those lead to pressure differences, which, combined
I'm just trying to see if...
with the rotation of the Earth, force air to move around the globe. We feel this as wind. Jet streams are very strong winds in the high part of the atmosphere, anywhere between 5 to 7 miles up. The speed of this stream can be more than 200 miles an hour. These bands of air are typically thousands of miles long and hundreds of miles wide. In the northern hemisphere, they broadly flow from west to east and shift north to south according to the season. In wintertime, the temperature contrast between cold polar air and warm tropical air is greatest. The jet stream is strongest at this time of year. These boundaries are also where weather fronts generally develop. A low-pressure stream is like a giant funnel of wind spiralling inwards and upwards, forcing warmish air towards the centre and then to rise. As this moist air rises, it condenses to form clouds. Over the North Atlantic, the jet stream typically steers depressions in a west to east direction. A stationary jet stream pattern over the Atlantic will bring frequent depressions to the same region. Sometimes warm air moves further north than normal, or cold polar air moves further south. This can change the prevailing west to east jet stream pattern. This causes the jet stream to buckle, causing depressions to move towards different regions or blocking their movements altogether. Therefore, jet streams can have a fundamental effect on our weather.
There you go, people. It's jet streams. I hope you heard that right. Hope you could hear that. But they're saying here jet streams have a huge impact on weather. So, yeah. The world is getting cold. How was your winter? Were you guys? Yeah. So Larry's commenting below. I think the Norse tried to survive by fishing in that video you mentioned. Yeah. So they tried fishing. Well, the problem is you die of scurvy. You need lemon and lime and oranges. You need even sunlight. You'll die of scurvy if you don't have. And that's, I think, what a lot of them died of at that time, because they couldn't grow anything, right? That was producing basically what they need to survive. Anyways, guys, this is just a couple of articles I really wanted to bring up. It's concerning. It's severely concerning, and it's definitely it could be a lifestyle change going into the future. I really hope instead of throwing money at problems, we start putting things together that make sense and actually putting models and projects together and getting proper analysis before jumping into conclusions and Florida underwater in 2012. Florida underwater in 2012. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think. Comment below. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for commenting. Trends in the housing market tomorrow night, Saturday night. I'm going to try and go on at 8 p.m. Western time, if possible. I'm going to try to come on a bit earlier. I got a lot of articles. I'm being flooded with articles today. So I'm going to sift through them, and I'll put up a good show for you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and ciao.